Hey, everybody. All right, I can see that we're all sort of filtering in. Hello, hello. Nice to see you. Hey, Dustin. It's been a while. Wow, lots of familiar faces here. So, I just want to welcome you. This is our first ever virtual art docent lesson, and I want to thank you for coming and trying this out with us. I hope that you have a good time today. If you don't know me, my name is Sonia Griffing, and I am former teacher at Crestwood, and I am also the PTA co-vice president and an art docent. And I guess we will get started. I hope all of you have your supplies ready. I'm going to tilt my computer down. Maybe you can see. I have my black paint. I have my crayons. I have my watercolor. My paper is here, and I do have a cup of water. Underneath that, you'll see that I also have paper towels because I'm very, very messy when I paint. So you should have your black paint, your crayons, your watercolor, of course your paintbrush, and a cup of water if you can. So here's what I'm looking for. If you have all your supplies, can you go to your, hey Riley, can you go to your,
I have everything but my cup of water.
Okay, well, you can get that real quick. I'll give you 30 seconds, and then go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you can in your reaction windows. And I'm gonna
already found that.
That's great. So I'm gonna remind, go ahead and stay muted, and I just want to see your thumbs if I can. Your thumbs up. Do you see my thumbs up? Yeah. Oh, I see actual thumbs, which is way better than virtual thumbs. All right. So it looks like we have our stuff. I'm going to share a screen with you real quick. I'm going to make sure it is the right screen. All right. And hopefully right now you are looking at this page right here. And Tiffany, it looks like there's someone else to admit. So today we are going to be learning a lesson on a guy with a really cool name. His name is Jean-Michel Basquiat, which is a very French name. And it took me a really long time to figure out how to say Basquiat. I had to look it up and listen to it 100 times. He's American born. He was born in Brooklyn, New York in December of the year 1960. His father was Haitian American and his mother is Puerto Rican. And so he had a very diverse cultural heritage, and he used that as the inspiration for his art. So his family was kind of from all over the world. But his mom, unfortunately, was really sick. She kind of lost control of the way that her brain and her emotions worked. So she was sent to an institution to help people that suffer from mental illness. And so he wasn't really close with his dad. He left home at 17 and ended up living in the streets, living at friends' houses, but sort of used his art to express how he was feeling about his life and about the world. So by the time he was, he started putting graffiti all over the city, all over Brooklyn. And people started noticing him by his street name, which was S-U-M-O, Sumo. And he started to get really well known. So by the time he was 20, he had his first art show. And he kicked off a movement called neo-expressionism, which isn't going to mean a lot, but the word neo means new. So basically, it was a new form of art called expressionism, where you don't really paint what you see, you paint what you feel. And so he kind of brought that back to life. And pretty soon he was pretty famous. And it was just interesting because he primarily drew like stick figures and stick animals. And a lot of his work was considered really, really crude, but also kind of genius. And he actually was one of the few painters that made money in his lifetime. Some of his art sold for as much as $50,000. But he was only 27 years old when he passed away in 1988. So he still didn't get the chance to be super, super famous. He was just starting his career. So it was really sad for everybody in the art community when he died. And a lot of people wanted his artwork. So in 2017, one of his his paintings, it was a skull, and it was called Untitled. It sold for $110.5 million. $110.5 million. That's like $110.5 more million than I have. But it made it the most money ever paid for art by an American artist, by art after 1980, and the most money ever paid for art by a Black artist. So he's pretty famous. And today we're going to be working on a self-portrait that looks very similar to this. And I'll show you again what mine looks like. So if you look, if you can see me in my window, and I'm trying to figure out how to make me the spotlight. Ba-ba-da-da. So you can see in my picture right here, this is my version, this is me, and we're gonna talk today about how we're gonna make that. But I did want to show you that even though he didn't live very long, he actually got pretty famous in his time. He hung out with a really famous photographer. He dated a really famous singer named Madonna. Some of you may have heard of her. But he also inspired a lot of picture books. So he's got his own picture book here, his own picture book here, and a very famous poet named Maya Angelou used some of his artwork to illustrate a poem that she had written. And do you see this crown on top of his dinosaur? He was the one that became known for putting crowns on top of things that he respected and things that he loved. And a lot of artists now use that, and it was because of him. So like, if you look at some of his art, you'll see that he didn't exactly draw people like they were, right? He just kind of drew really like stick figure kind of thingies, right? But it was more about how he was feeling. And he used a lot of that influences from his childhood to kind of create those pictures. I'm going to read to you a little bit of this book. And I know, I'm sorry you're not going to be able to see the pictures very well, but it's a little biography. Jean-Michel was talented. Was a talented boy from Brooklyn whose mother was Puerto Rican and father was Haitian. He was only 4 years old when he started drawing, eager to show the world what a great artist he could be. And what's he drawing on? A wall. Do you think that's probably a good idea to draw on your walls? No, not a great idea. Yes, I'm sure we've all done it at some point. For Jean-Michel, a perfect Saturday was going to Manhattan with his mother to visit museums. So even when he was very small, he would go to museums. And then he would spend all afternoon drawing cartoons on scrap paper while listening to music with his father. So already you can tell as a kid, he got to go to museums, he got to listen to music, he was exposed to a lot of culture. One day when he was 7, Jean-Michel was hit by a car when he was playing in the street. Look both ways, right? He had to rest in bed for weeks. But to help pass the time, his mother gave him the most useful present he could have received. She gave him an anatomy book. And anatomy is just basically a fancy way for talking about your body. So she actually gave him a book on the human body. And he studied that book and learned about drawing people, especially skulls, teeth, guts, skins, and skeletons, right? He thought it was fascinating. So he would go through the pages and he realized how powerful and fragile the human body is. He decided to use all that he could learn about his paintings. Remember, a painting that he did of a skull sold for $110.5 million. So sometimes it pays to have a good book, right? Things turned upside down though when his mother got sick. He dropped out of school, he ran away from home, but he did find a place in the city as school, which was kind of like a school that had unconventional learners like him. And also a lot of them were artists. So he kind of fell in with an art crowd. Not long afterward, the city of New York woke up with messages spray painted all over Manhattan. And they were signed by the name that Jean-Michel and his friend Ad Diaz made up, and it was S-A-M-O, Samo. It was the beginning of the graffiti era, and Jean-Michel was at the center of it. In the blink of an eye, he went from selling t-shirts and homemade postcards to becoming the star of the art scene. So he was still really very young, and everyone's like, ooh, Jean-Michel, you're such a great artist. Locked up in his studio, Jean-Michel spent hours on the floor, not at a table, not at a desk, but on the floor, mixing pencil, oil sticks, crayons with cut-up quotes he found in comics and history books. And the result was this beautiful mess of paintings that people fell in love with. He believed that everyone deserved a place in art. Instead of painting kings and queens like a lot of other artists, he turned his paintbrush to waiters, to cooks, to prisoners, and to himself. So he painted people that were a little bit different, average people, right? Just you and me. And if there was somebody he wanted to meet, and it was this famous artist called Andy Warhol, who's one of his idols. And at the after their first lunch together, they went home, and within 2 hours, Andy Warhol had already made a painting of the two of them. They would go out, they hang out, they were really good friends. There was a new painter and a pop art legend, and this is kind of how art was born. Look at that outfit. I'm telling you, man, I'm so glad we don't have to dance like that anymore. In less than 10 years, Jean-Michel made thousands of paintings and drawings, but he was a poet, he was a musician, and a graffiti prodigy who influenced the art of many artists around him. And by painting life in his own unique way, Jean-Michel became one of the most important artists of the 20th century. The talented child who once told his father, "Papa, I'm going to be famous." And look what he painted over his head, a crown, because he only painted crowns over the people that he respected. In the end, he learned to respect his own artwork. So he's a pretty interesting guy. He even actually had a movie made about him. Thank you for the applause. Thank you. I appreciate those little clapping hands. But now we're going to learn how to make our own versions of Basquiat's style of expressionism. And abstract means, and expressionist, remember, it's not going to look exactly like you. It's just going to be an idea. And we are going to start with just a blank piece of paper. So do you all have your paper in front of you? And this is going to be kind of tricky because what we're doing is I'm going to ask you to take a white crayon and you're going to draw on a white piece of paper. And it's going to be really hard to see what you're drawing because it's white on white. So you're going to have to pay attention. So for an example here, I've just put a piece of black just so you can see, since you won't be able to see the white. And you're just going to draw a crude outline of a head. So what shape is your head basically? Yeah, it's like an oval or a circle. So I want you to think like, what shape is your head? Maybe touch your head a little bit to figure out what size your head is and draw that basic shape with white crayon on your paper. Now you're going to have to push hard and you're going to want to go over it a couple of times. Do you see how I'm making this really thick, really thick? You're not going to be able to see it, but you want to make sure that you're getting as much crayon as the paper on the paper as possible. And you'll find out why later. So I have a nice thick line here of crayon. I pushed down so hard earlier when I made this that I broke my crayon, right? I want to make sure that I'm filling in as much blank spaces as possible. So I've got my circle for my head, right? What are some other features that we have? Go ahead and type in the chat if you can think of other things that I need to add to this. So far all we have is a circle head. What more do we need to make a face? Ears, perfect. Let's see, my ears are kind of like, I don't know, they're kind of like, look like half of a peanut, or maybe a backwards 3. Here's a 3, here's a 3. So I'm making some nice big ears, and I'm doing my lines really, really dark, right? So that I can see them. And it's hard, right? Because you're doing white on white paper. But so you're kind of doing it like that. What other things? I see that we need eyes. Fantastic. What shapes are eyes? Are they triangles? Are they circles? Are they ovals? They're ovals. So usually they line up at the top of your ears, and you're just going to kind of make oval shapes or circle shapes. It's up to you. And I'm going to take that white crayon and I'm going to make really big, thick lines, and I'm going to push down hard. If I just do a little tiny like swoop of a crayon, it's not going to work. You got to push down hard, and you've got to make those lines nice and thick. So we've got a head, we have ears, we have eyes. I'm looking in the chat.
I can't even see my thing.
It's hard, right? But don't worry, you will see it. Something magical will happen later.
Put it in the white and you can see it better.
So yeah, sometimes if you hold it up to a light source, you can see it better. I'm lucky because I'm working on black paper, but pretty soon I'll have to switch to my white paper and it'll be hard to see. It looks like we need nose. So you know what? Maybe I'm just going to make myself a backwards L for a nose. And I'm going to go over it again and again and again and again and again. Okay? That's my nose. And of course, you need a mouth. And you can decide if your mouth is smiling. You can decide if your mouth is frowning. Remember, this is you. So how are you feeling right now? Are you feeling happy? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling contemplative? Are
I'm
you
going to do a
surprised?
face going like this.
Okay, draw whatever face you need. I'm kind of in this mood right now. And I'm going to color, actually, make some lines here. And I'm going to color my teeth. I'm going to color them in. Like, I'm kind of gritting my teeth, right? Just the mood that I'm in. Teeth gritting mood. Maybe I'll just color it all in. Maybe I just have a big old shiny thing of teeth. Whatever. Okay. And I guess I have little pupils in my eyes. So I can color in my pupils nice and white, big dots. So I've got my pupils, my nose, my mouth, my ears. Most of us, not all, most of us have hair. Okay, so when Basquiat painted hair, he didn't do it like super fancy. He just did like stick figure hair. Like, so if he had, you know, like short hair, he would just have it sticking up. Or like my hair's long, so I just drew like really thick lines going down. This is my hair. And I'm gonna make it nice and thick. I'm gonna color those in as dark as I can, as hard as I can, because I want to be able to see it later. So the thicker and the darker the lines, the more you're going to be able to see. So I'm coloring my hair, coloring my hair. This is general. I'm going to flip this off to the side and I'm going to work on my white drawing. Maybe move it down here. Draw that. I'm going to give you about 2 or 3 minutes to finish up your face. Remember,
do we make the neck?
Oh, thank you. Yes, but all you're going to do for a neck is you're just going to make like a rectangle, a nice thick rectangle. You're not going to make shoulders. You're not going to like try to attach it to your head in any way. Thank you. Yes, we should definitely have a neck. That was a great question. So just to finish that rough outline. So you think, well, this is weird. I'm just drawing a white face on white paper and I can't see anything and what's going on? Well, don't worry, you're about to find out in about 1 more minute.
I can actually kind of see mine because it's kind of like a yellowish, whitish color.
Well, that's good. Yeah, it does make it easier if you can sort of see it. All right, so if you are done, would you please give me a thumbs up in your window? Okay. All right, I see a couple people with thumbs up. Fantastic. I've put my white paper on there. See, you can't see a thing, can you? Well, here's where it gets interesting. In Basquiat's art, he remember how his dad listened to music with him and his mom brought him to the museum, and he had friends that went to art school, and he loved taking pictures, and he was a poet, he loved words. I want you to take a minute to think about things that you love. And then with your crayons, you're actually going to draw pictures or write words all over your paper about things that you love. If you remember, if we look at Basquiat's portrait here, if you see right here, like he has a car in his face, right? Not because he literally had a car driving on his face, but because he traveled a lot. He was on the go. So for him, this symbolized kind of a life in movement. And he was running everywhere. So he wrote the word run. And he drew pictures of light bulbs because he had ideas. And he drew the names. He wrote like fun. And he wrote the names of his friends. And he drew a fence. And he made hashtags for all the years he lived alone and all the years he was painting. And so he kind of took all these things that made up his life and he drew them in pictures along his self-portrait. So I want you to kind of take a few moments and think about things that kind of make you you. For example, I'm going to write this backwards just because it's fun, but I love my family, right? So I'm going to write the word family backwards in big old letters right on top of my art. And I'm going to do it in nice, thick crayon.
So any color?
Any colors you want, any pictures you want. This is as Bob Ross, my painting mentor, would say, this is your world. So these are the things that you love. See, I'm a teacher, right? So I'm going to draw myself a nice apple for the teacher. Give myself an apple.
Can we go?
You can go over your face. You can draw on your eyeballs. You can draw on your neck. You can draw on your hair. I'm just pretending like this. Painting underneath doesn't even exist.
Oh, can we do colors now?
Yes, any colors you want. Any crayons that you want. So any colors, any crayons, any words, any pictures, anything that matter to you. I like sunshine. So maybe I can do a swirly sunshine. Add some orange in here. Okay. I like to write. Maybe I'm going to draw myself a pencil. I'm a writer. So give myself something to write. Here's my words. Ta-da. Here's my eraser. And notice how I'm not being really careful. I'm not trying to draw like super, super careful. He was an expressionist. He expressed how he felt. And so I'm just being quick. I'm not even thinking about it. I'm like, well, what are some things that I love? You know what? I love my dog. So maybe I'll draw a puppy's ears, although my dog now looks like a rabbit, but that's okay. Okay. And yes, my dog isn't blue, but right now my dog is blue. Doesn't really matter. My dog's a Dalmatian, so she has a lot of spots. I have another dog. I should probably not leave that dog out. My little husky. Put her here in the corner. She's got pointy ears. Pointy ears. Here's her little tail, little legs. Let's see, what other things? Well, you know what? I love school. Maybe I'm going to write the word school. Love school. And I'm writing nice and thick, and I'm pushing my crayons down really hard because I
wrote the name of my best friend on mine.
Nice. Oh, you know what else I love? I love to read. Maybe I'm going to put a book here. I've read so many books recently. So many. I read all the Percy Jackson books. Like last month, it was amazing. If you're not in 6th grade yet, look forward to it because, man, I love me some Percy Jackson. Okay. Maybe I'll make my dog a little fuzzy. Fuzzy dog. Let's see. Well, you know what else I love? I love art. So I'm going to take my black crayon here and maybe I'll draw an art palette. I'll put all these splotches of color right on my easel. Doesn't even matter where. Doesn't matter at all. So this is called a self-portrait. And so the cool thing about a self-portrait is it's not about how the world looks at you. It's how you see yourself. That's where the word self comes in. So there's no wrong way to do it. There's no wrong way to see yourself. There's no wrong things to love if it's what gives you joy. In fact, you know what gives me joy? Big giant hearts. Yay. A big old yellow heart right in the middle of my face.
I drew a unicorn because I love unicorns.
Perfect. You know what else I love? I love math. I'm going to put like a 2 + 2 = 4. I'm a big fan of math.
I'm going to do science.
Oh, yeah. I like science. Maybe I'll draw a science beaker.
I like science.
All right. My fellow scientists, this is my science beaker. I don't know what this red liquid is inside my science beaker, but I guarantee you I don't want to spill it. Yeah. Maybe it is exploding. Okay. It's all up to you. So what you should be seeing as you work is random words, right? Pictures, and underneath there's still that face, but you can barely see it. Let's see. You know what? I love to write. So maybe I'm just going to randomly put Some letters of the alphabet. Maybe some are upside down and some are sideways, some are backwards. Doesn't
What
matter.
about like coloring?
Ooh, draw that. Let's see, I got an F over here.
I did a picture of me watching TV.
Ooh, I didn't put a TV in mine. That's pretty exciting. J.
I made a sand buggy.
Nice. All right, so you don't need to fill up your whole page, right? You can just put, I don't know, 5 or 6 things maybe. It doesn't really matter. But it is important that you go over your lines and you make your lines nice and thick. Because what's going to happen is we're going to be painting over these. So if your lines are barely there, if you barely touched your crayon to the page, you're going to paint over it and you're not going to see your drawing. So maybe now you just take a few minutes to go back over your pieces here and fill them in.
What if we just scribbled up and down the face? Would that do it?
You can do that, but we're going to paint, so you don't really need to scribble with your crayons. I would prefer that you do pictures or letters here, because really,
No, with your white crayon.
oh, with your white crayon, that's going to have a different effect. You can definitely do that, but we're about to paint this to get all sorts of colors. So if you want to do scribbling of your white crayon, like maybe over here, I just want to do like a little line of scribble with white. It's fine. You can't see it now, but you will be able to. Maybe I want to outline my book with white, or make my pages white. Or maybe I want the inside of my eyeballs to be white.
What if you make like little scribble lines in your book so it looks like it's got like words on it?
That would be amazing. I wish I could write an actual book in there. That would be nice. So I'm going to give you maybe 2 minutes to finish up before we move on to the next step. If you, when you're done, you can just put a thumbs up in your window.
Miss Griffin,
Yes.
do you put color on the face?
I put colors all over my face. So like my head is right here, my eyeballs are here, my nose is here. So I got a heart over my nose. I've got a science beaker over my mouth. I've got an apple on my cheek. Oh, that's cute. I have a paint palette on my ear. I've got a dog in my hair. So yeah, I definitely covered up my face.
Do you color your self-portrait or are we gonna paint it?
We're gonna paint. So what happens, let me see if I can show you my sample.
I know how it's gonna work.
Yeah, so.
The paint is not gonna cover the crayon. I tried that once.
Yes. Oh, you know what? Maybe today I really like myself. So I'm gonna give myself one of those crowns that Basquiat gave himself and gave the people he respected. He's usually his dad, other artists, and he really liked boxers. He was a big fan of boxing, which is, that sport where you punch people, which I don't get, but he liked it. All right. So now that we're here, we're going to do the next step, which is we're going to do some color blocking with watercolors. And I don't remember who said it, but yeah, what happens is crayons have a wax base, and wax is really slippery and it doesn't mix with water. So what happens is when you put water on top of wax, it becomes almost waterproof and it repels the water, it pushes it away. And because we're working with watercolors, you'll never guess what the active ingredient is. Well, it's water. So that watercolor paint is going to get pushed away from your crayons, and hopefully it won't cover that. So if you are using paint that is not a watercolor paint, if you're using something like an acrylic paint, you're going to want to thin that out with a little bit of water. So you're going to want to use a really, really wet paintbrush, because if your paint is too thick, you're going to cover up your artwork. So you want to make sure you have really thin paint. So like this one, I would just put on a plate, and I would put some water in there and I'd mix it up with my water so that it was super, super thin, so that it actually kind of, if you picked it up, it would drip, okay? Now, before we get started, because this is our first lesson of the year, I wanna do a little bit of paintbrush etiquette and like how you're supposed to hold a paintbrush. So paintbrushes are pretty delicate and we want to treat them with respect. So when you use a paintbrush, it's hard. I can't actually see my face because I put your faces in front of my face. So I don't really know what I'm doing. All right. So if my hand was my piece of paper and this is my paintbrush, there's only a couple directions that I really want to brush effectively. And that's going to be up and down and side to side. I do not ever want to squish my brush against my paper like that so that it fans out, because that's going to hurt my brush. Did you see what it did to my bristles right there? It kind of spread them out. And that's a way to break paintbrushes. So you want to be careful. Later on, I will show you a different type of brush stroke, but the secret is to kind of treat your brush with respect. Think of it like a delicate little caterpillar or butterfly that you don't want to push too hard because you don't want to break it. So with your watercolor brush, you're just going to get it really, 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 really wet, right? So right now, my brush is super wet. It's dripping wet, which is maybe a little too wet. And if my brush is ever too wet, I can always hold my water and scrape the sides, but make sure you hold the cup, because if you don't and you scrape the sides, you may tip your water over it and make a giant mess, which I definitely don't want to do. So my brush is wet and I'm going to go to my watercolors and I'm just going to pick a color. I'm going to pick any color I want and I'm just going to get it super wet. Maybe I'll go back into my water, get it wet again. Maybe I'll go back in my water, get it really wet, so that my green or whatever color you're picking is wet. And you're just going to randomly pick a spot and you are going to paint that color. And if it's light, don't worry about it, because we are actually going to do this whole process 2 times. And you'll see when we go how that's going to make a difference. So as I'm painting, can you see that kind of part of my head is coming into focus? And you can see these little dots where my paint is actually getting repelled from the wax. So, and you're not going to paint your whole thing one color, right? You kind of want to paint with your mood. So maybe this side of my head is feeling like all these cool tones. Maybe this side of my head is like, oh, winter, right? And calming and relaxing. And maybe this side of my head, the other side of my head, maybe that's my warm tones. Maybe I'm like, oh, I'm fired up, I'm passionate, I'm excited. So I'm going to make this side reds and orange and yellows. It's up to you, right? However you want to do it. You can make stripes, you can make rectangles, you can make lines, you can make blobs, right? Maybe you just want to do a big old blob right in the middle. It doesn't matter. But your goal now is to try to cover your entire picture with paint. And again, don't worry if your colors aren't dark, because that is going to happen because we're going to go over it a second time. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're going to give you time, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, just to get your color blocking in on your background. And I kind of like the idea that I came up with, where I'm keeping my cool tones and my warm tones on one side. So I might just stick with that. And it'll kind of, I think, have a sort of rainbow effect if I keep my yellow, my red, and my orange on one corner, and my blue and my green and my purple on the other. For some of you that know a little bit about art, you can also do complementary colors, which are colors on the opposite side of the color scale. For example, the opposite of blue on the color scale is orange. So maybe I want to have a big contrast, and maybe right next to my blue, maybe I want to put a little orange. Oh, I didn't clean it very well. My brush was a little dirty and it mixed up kind of funny, but that's okay. Because this is a expressionist art. This isn't about a real world, you know? It's about how we want to make it. the reason I always have paper towels with me is it helps me get my brush really clean. Like right now, I accidentally made my orange like this kind of weird shade of green. And the way I clean that is by getting lots of water, dipping my brush, and just kind of clean it out bit by bit on my paper towel. The cool thing about watercolors is they're pretty easy to clean. You can run them under water, or you could dip a wet paper towel into them and kind of wipe them off. If you've got like little siblings at home that are still in diapers, you can use the baby wipes to clean your paints. I like wet paper towels or wet napkins.
I have a baby brother.
Nice. I have a baby brother, but he's 39. So I guess he's not a baby anymore.
I have a baby cousin.
Ooh. I'm just mixing my colors. And don't be afraid to use, you know, like browns. Don't be afraid to use black. Black's not going to show up super dark because it's a watercolor. It'll show up almost like a gray. Don't be afraid to kind of mix it up.
I have a baby cousin that lives in Montana.
Nice. I'm trying to think of, my youngest cousin is like probably 28. But they have babies.
My youngest cousin is 1 year old.
Wow. It's like you guys are a totally different generation than me.
My baby cousin is about maybe 5 months old.
Oh, that's so tiny and adorable. I used to be 5 months old once.
I
A long time ago.
All of us have.
My youngest
It's so
baby
chunky.
cousin is 0
sticking
years
out.
old. I think my youngest cousin is 0 years old.
Wow. All right, so we're going to take 2 more minutes to work on this. Get your color blocking in. I just realized I don't have purple yet, so I definitely want to add some purple. My crayon resist worked really well. Got a lot of paint spots on here, which is another thing you can do with your paper towel. I'm going to show you something cool about watercolors. You put a paper towel onto them, and they almost work like an eraser. You can erase some of that color. So I've got a lot of beading on mine, so maybe I just wipe it down, get some of that beading off. If you have a paper towel or napkin and your painting is a little wet, you can just rub up and down, or you can dab it, and I don't mean the dancing way. I mean, you just pat, 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 pat. So, not this? It's not bad. Let's see, I didn't have any purple. I think I want a purple triangle right in the middle of my face, which is good because that's the complementary color of that big yellow heart I put there. Big old purple triangle. All the way up to my crown. Ooh, nice. Then again, it's a little bit extra, so I can just wipe it down. Let's see. It's gonna go good with my brown. How about another touch of blue up here? The fun thing to think about when you're doing this is just kind of like, where's your eye gonna go? Like, what do you want the person looking at the art to look at first? You know, they'll look at maybe brighter colors. So maybe you paint yellow at math because math is your favorite, right? Or maybe they'll be drawn to the darkest colors. So maybe you'll put black over the thing that's most important to you. Maybe you've painted your colors in a pattern. Maybe you've only picked 2 colors instead of all of them.
See my white coming up now.
You can see it. I hope you can see your white coming up, right? That's kind of the whole trick about that. coloring nice and dark. If you can't see your white coming up, maybe that means that you didn't push hard enough, but that's okay. There's a back to this paper. You can always flip it over and try again later. Ooh, I want some red stripes. Ooh, why not?
Did you know that I have this super pretty teal color?
Ooh, very nice. I did not know that, but I'm very happy for you. All right, so I've got my basic background done. Go ahead and raise your hand if you need more time. Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit more time. I did want to
I
point
need
out
more
to you.
time.
Right, it's okay. You can have more time. Keep going. Fill it in as much as you can. It's hard to do, especially when you've got a little tiny paintbrush and a big old piece of paper. Here's my secret. I'm going to give you a secret. The more water you put on the paint, that's a nice size paintbrush over there. The more water you put in the paint, the bigger you can spread it. If my paintbrush is really dry, like super dry, it's only going to paint like a tiny little area. But if I add lots of water, okay.
I think I know that because I've made.
All right. If I add lots of water, it's going to thin it out, right? So if your painting still has a lot of white on it, my suggestion would be to go into that glass of water and add more water and continue to spread it out. More water is fine. If your color is really pale, that's fine, because we're going to give this a few minutes to dry. And then we're going to go and we're going to do another layer on top to try to make those colors as bright and bold as possible. And then we'll do our final step, and it will be really cool when we're all done. While you're painting, maybe I will share Maya Angelou's poem that she used with Basquiat's art.
Miss Griffin,
Mm-hmm.
do you want us to also paint on our self-portrait that we drew?
You're going to paint over your whole sheet. See how my whole sheet is painted? You're going to paint over everything. So where you can see the white on mine, that's crayon. I actually painted over it, but the paint didn't stick, right? Because the water's not going to stick to the wax. So paint your whole sheet, everything. I want it all painted, every little portion of your paper, except for where the crayon's at. So I'm going to read you this book, Life Doesn't Frighten Me. Poem by Maya Angelou, paintings by Jean-Michel Basquiat. Okay. Shadows on the wall, noises down the hall. Here's his artwork that goes with that. What? Kind of creepy, but also kind of cool. Life doesn't frighten me at all. Bad dogs barking loud. Look at all those colors that he used. Very warm tones. When I was saying warm tones, this is what I was talking about. These oranges and these reds and these yellows with a little bit of dark colors on the other side. Big ghosts in a cloud. Life doesn't frighten me at all. Let's see if I can get more light. Mean old Mother Goose, lions on the loose, they don't frighten me at all. Dragons breathing flame on my counterpane, that doesn't frighten me at all. Love that. I go boo, make them shoo, I make fun, way they run, I won't cry. So they fly, I just smile, they go wild. Life doesn't frighten me at all. Tough guys in a fight, all alone at night. Life doesn't frighten me at all. Panthers in the park, strangers in the dark. No, they don't frighten me at all. I don't know, look at that. That new classroom where boys all pull my hair, kissy little girls with their hair in curls. They don't frighten me at all. No kissy little girls, we all know better. Don't show me the frogs and snakes and listen for my scream. If I'm afraid at all, it's only in my dreams. I've got a magic charm that I keep up my sleeve. I can walk the ocean floor and never have to breathe. Life doesn't frighten me at all. Not at all. Not at all. Life doesn't frighten me at all. And there's a little flower growing in a dark world. And that's the end. Are we all getting pretty close to being done? All right, if you can, if your artwork is dry enough, can you hold it up to your screen so I can see how it's looking? Oh yeah, nice, 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 very nice. All right, very good. All right, now I'm gonna tell you the secret of the next part, which by the way is remarkably similar to the part we just did. Okay, you are now going to paint on top of what you just painted. If your paper is really wet, just make sure you don't get it like so wet there's a hole in it, right? And I'm going to make my colors darker. And I'm going to tell you a secret, and it's called shading. Shading. And shading is when you add black to a color to make it darker. So we're going to shade the color. And this is really tricky, and this is where you want to have your paper towels or your napkins to keep your paints clean. But I want to make my blue even darker, right? So I've got my blue, and it's kind of too bright. So what I want to do is I'm going to dip my paintbrush in my black. Then I'm going to go to my blue, and I'm going to mix my black in with my blue. So my blue becomes a darker shade of blue. And then I'm going to go right on top of places where my blue was, and I'm going to paint right on top. And I don't know if you can see from where you are, but do you see how much darker my blue got on my second layer? And maybe it spreads a little bit further, right? So I shaded that. And we're going to be getting your paints very messy right now. And I hope that you remember how I said you can clean it with running water or wet paper towels or baby wipes or anything you have that's wet. It will get clean. Be careful with the running water way though, because sometimes you wash it so much that the paint disappears. Okay, and it's going to be harder to see your drawings now, right? Because you're adding that darker color on top. And this is just to make it so it's kind of bolder and brighter, and it really, really stands out to someone that's watching it. And it's kind of neat if it covers your art, because nobody can always see what's going on inside of our heads, right? We have a lot of stuff going on in our heads, and we can't share it all the time. So sometimes it's covered and it's hidden. And it's a secret that we keep, things that make us happy. And sometimes we share them with the world, especially when they're super important. But, you know, we all have a million things going on in our head at the same time, so it's okay. We can't always see it. And I'm going to do that with all my other colors, right? I want my green darker, so I'm going to go into my black. I'm going to get my black a little wet. I'm going to go into my green. I'm going to mix my black and my green. And I'm going to shade it. I'm going to make my green darker, and I'm going to go over all of my areas that are green. This is to give me a really bold, vibrant color, and this is called value. So the value of a color is kind of how it's perceived by the eye, how rich and bold it is. And maybe I don't want to make all my greens dark, you know, maybe I want some greens to stay lighter, and that's okay. That's up to me, right? Because I'm the artist. And maybe I don't like how the paint covered all that, so maybe I want to clean my crown off, right? It's totally up to you how you do your art. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to go through and decide what you want to shade and what you don't want to shade, and just make those colors as bold and bright and beautiful as you want to. The more black you add, of course, the darker your color is going to get. The less black you add, the more your color is going to stay the same.
Miss Griffin,
Yes.
do we have to do it?
Do you have to add the black?
Yeah.
You don't have to add the black. It's just a technique that I wanted to teach you in case someday you wanted to know about shading.
Okay.
If you want to keep your brothers, that's weird. If you want to keep your colors really pastel, keep them really pastel. I'm just playing with I'm playing with shading. I think it's fun. And then, yeah, you could tell me one thing.
I wasn't done with the first layer.
That's okay. If you don't have time to do both layers right now, you can finish it later. So this is just painting time. If you're still working on the first layer, then finish that first layer. This is just kind of painting time. We all paint at different paces, right? We're all our own kind of artists, so we don't always work the same. That's okay.
Since I don't have a big enough brush, I'm just grabbing 3 of my paint brushes and then going back and forth.
Oh, that's a way to think outside of the box. Okay. Ooh, I made my orange a little too dark, so I'm just going to clean it out a little. Clean it out a little. Telling you, paper towels and napkins are my very best friend when I paint. I'm a very messy painter. And I'm wearing my Crestwood shirt today because it's Wednesday and I don't want to get paint all over that. Anybody else wear Crestwood shirt today?
Me, I did.
Nice.
This is Layla.
Hey, Layla.
I'm right here. You
I'm
didn't see
looking.
me? I did.
Okay, there.
I'm right
Okay.
here.
Nice. Hello, children. It's so nice to see your faces.
I did the dragonfly with you.
Yes, you did. I remember that. That was fun. Let's see. Now my yellow, I don't necessarily want to add a lot of black to my yellow. Maybe I'll add a little bit of green.
Miss Grayson says hi.
Oh, nice. Well, tell Grayson I said hi back.
I mixed a little black in my yellow. It looked like mustard.
Ooh, cool. That's kind of cool.
But I decided not to add it to my pan.
That's cool. That's your choice. It's your choice.
I don't like mustard.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of mustard. I like ketchup. I like barbecue sauce. Not mustard. My favorite one to add dark to is purple. I love it when the purple gets like super dark.
My grandpa adds
My brother, he is great. And whenever we have something with barbecue sauce, he gets excited because he likes it that much.
Somebody was saying something about their grandpa?
Yeah, my grandpa adds barbecue sauce to absolutely everything. Name it, he has barbecue sauce on it.
My daughter Callie likes A1
Pizza.
sauce. You like
Pizza.
A1 sauce? You put Oh, I've had barbecue sauce on pizza.
That does not sound the best.
Well, you know what? I've had worse.
Like mayo on a sandwich.
Yeah, I don't like mayo either. I'm really
My
picky.
dad has mustard and mayo on absolutely everything.
What about his breakfast cereal?
What he normally puts mustard on is sandwiches, and then for mayo, I feel like he puts it in his spaghetti because it looks like he does. It's disgusting.
He might. I don't know. You know, everybody likes their own thing. I wonder if your parents and grandparents would put barbecue sauce and mayo on their picture. You know what I should have put on here is a taco or tamale.
But pizza.
I could, but it's kind of too late for me to add the crayons now. I've already painted over it. So.
I love tacos.
You do? Yeah, me too. I love all tacos. I like tofu tacos and chicken tacos and pork tacos.
I can't see it on anything I drew.
I love burritos.
If you can't see anything you drew, it means your paint is probably too thick. You could take a paper towel and rub it over the top or dab it on the top of your art, and that will pick up some of your paint.
The second layer, I put it on my thing, and now it's too dark, so I can't see it.
If it's too dark, you can, like I said, you can add more water to thin it out and scrape it and suck it up with a paper towel, right? You can just be like, and the paper towel will like just suck all the water out of there and some of the paint out of there. And again, if it's so dark that you can't see, that's cool because nobody can see inside our thoughts all the time anyway, right? So it's just a matter of experimenting. How much color do you need? How much paint do you need? How much water? Those are all things that artists learn as they grow as artists. Nobody knows it right away. Nobody gets the perfect recipe for painting the first time out, or the second, or the third, or the fourth. It takes a lot of time. So you just keep practicing. And what's cool, you have all this stuff at home, so you can do most of this at home. Yeah.
What is the black paint for? Like
that's going to be our last step, and we're going to get there in about 5 minutes. We're going to do the paint. Yep. So we might go about 5 minutes over. I hope that's okay with you. If you have to leave at 2 o'clock, we're going to put this on our YouTube channel, which is Crestwood PTA 9711. So if for some reason you can't stay past 2, you can go onto our YouTube channel and watch this video. Probably starting tomorrow. Takes a while for the videos to download, or maybe in an hour.
I didn't know you had your own YouTube channel, Miss Griffin.
Well, I don't have a YouTube channel. The PTA has a YouTube channel. Do you see the number under my name here? It says Crestwood PTA 9711. That's our YouTube channel name. So it's really cool. It has a lot of videos in it about reflections, and I know maybe a lot of you don't know about reflections, so I'm going to talk about it right now. Reflections is a national contest where kids are encouraged to submit art or songs or dances or movies or poetry or short stories around a topic. And this year's topic is I Matter Because. I see that nice painting that's being held up, Miss Meters. Lily, it's been a while. It's nice to see you. So this year's theme is I Matter Because, right? And so what a perfect thing. You can take this piece of art right here that you're making right now, and you could submit it to our reflections contest. You can ask your parents to help you, because you know what matters is you, and this painting is all about you. So you would write a statement like, I matter because I love my family, I love art, I love math, I love my dogs. I matter because I read and write books, and I learn and I share my knowledge with the world. Like, these are all ways that I matter. I matter because I feed my dog dinner, and my dog would die if I didn't give him dinner, so therefore I matter. I matter because I like to paint, and that puts beauty in the world, right? So these are all ways that I matter. And so you can submit this work right here. You're working on right now. You were already done with reflections, and you could submit it to our PTA for the contest. And we usually make sure that everybody gets a prize. And it's usually an ice cream party. I don't know what that would look like now. Maybe we just drive at your house and throw some ice cream at you. Who knows? But we'll figure it out. But ask your parents. It's on our webpage if you need more information.
Maybe you get a
Do we have to color the hole outside?
Color as much as you can. I'm going to share the reflections page with you guys really quick. Actually, I'm going to share our, I don't know if you know that we had a web page too. So I'm going to share it with you. And just so you and your families know that we have a web page. I just make sure I'm on the right page. Yeah. It's hard to know what I'm sharing. It looks like I'm sharing you. Am I sharing you? What do you see right now? Someone tell me what you see.
Crestwood PTA.
Okay, you do see the Crestwood PTA. So like this is the link for our artwork. If you scroll down, it says I matter because, and then I'm sorry, I'm terrible at Spanish. Yo importo porque means I matter because. You click on it and it brings you to our reflections page and it tells you all about the artist statement. And then I made a whole bunch of videos with my kid dressed as a panda to tell you how to do all the things. And then there's an entry form that you would fill in and you would just email it to us. So everything you need to know is on that webpage. So tell your parents about it.
But what if we don't know how to get on the web?
Well, I'm hoping that there are people in your life that do. But it's pretty easy because our address is CW for Crestwood, PTA, that's what we are, .com, CWPTA.com. Your parents should know it. They just tell them to look, or tell them just to go to like a search engine and be like, type in Crestwood PTA, dad, grandpa, uncle, auntie, cousin, babysitter, and then they'll be able to get you to the reflections page. Do you have a question over there with your hand up? A little church child? Tell me.
What is this paint for?
We're going to actually do that right now. So the next thing that we're going to do is some of the outlining of the work, which is something that kind of gives it that kind of more primitive street artist feel. So if we're looking at Basquiat's portrait here, do you see where around his face he has colored, wait, I haven't shared it yet, so obviously you can't see anything. But now, do you see how around his face he's colored these kind of dark areas? And he's almost outlined his hair with black. He's outlined his ear, he's outlined his neck. He's maybe scribbled some black lines here and there and everywhere. This is just to add contrast. Do you see how he even painted these lines between his teeth, maybe? And so this is just going to add a little bit of dark. Just going to draw the person looking at it. It's going to draw their attention in. If you paint over anything, you're not going to be able to see it. This is the kind of paint that you can't see through. Also, this is acrylic paint. I'm pretty sure this is acrylic, which means it's plastic-based, not water-based. You do not want to get this on your clothes at all. It will not come off. If you do get it on your clothes, you need to wash your clothes right away. This is like getting Sharpie, right? It's just not going to come off. So you're going to take your brush, and you're going to clean it really, 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 really well in your water. And hopefully you have a paper towel that's still dry, and you're going to dry off your brush. You don't want your brush to be super wet for this. You want it to be clean. You want it to be mostly dry. Okay? So you've got your clean, mostly dry brush. Well, as dry as you can get it. At least it's not dripping, right? And I'm going to dip it inside my black paint. And I'm not going to use a lot. I'm actually just putting the tip of my brush in there. I'm spinning it a little to get to a point. I'm spinning it, spinning it, spinning it. And I'm just going to go to my brush and I'm going to be like, you know what? I want to outline my hair. So I'm just going to take my black brush. I'm just going to outline around my hair. And so maybe I need to get a little more paint. Maybe I need to keep dipping, whatever it is. And maybe my line is thick, maybe it's thin. Again, this is your self-portrait. This is about what you want to do as an artist. Maybe my brush is a little too dry. Maybe you need to get it slightly more wet, and so I'll draw some lines. It doesn't matter what I'm painting over, right? Because this is all about the idea of adding contrast or making it interesting or outlining or highlighting certain things. Like maybe I'm just going to make my dog's nose black. Why not? Now my dogs have black noses, just because. Okay. Maybe I want to put these black dots in my eyes, or maybe I want to put some shadows. Now I want to show you this really cool technique I'm using, and it's called scumbling. I don't know if you could say scumbling, but it's kind of like scribbling with a paintbrush. Instead of going up and down or side to side, I kind of scribble like I would with a crayon. I'm not pushing down too hard because I don't want to break my brush, but I'm sort of going side to side to side and just lightly, like a butterfly landing, right? I'm just lightly pushing the brush against, and oh no, my brush kind of got a little messed up. That's okay. I just get my brush wet, I dry it off a little bit, and I start over, okay? So it's whatever you want to highlight, whatever you want it to look like. But you want to keep your paint really thick. So you don't really want your paintbrush to be that wet. Okay, I'm going to draw my neck. Nice rectangle for my neck. It's however you want it to look. Maybe I'm going to have some dark sections here in the corner of my face. It's okay. I'm going to scumble, or maybe I'll go side to side. Okay. Maybe I'm going to outline my mouth and give myself those big old teeth like he had. Maybe I'm smiling because I'm going to give myself my little smile lines. Maybe I want to add some nostrils on my nose. Hey, look, I can breathe.
I added like eyebrows so that you could kind of see my reaction.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I hadn't even thought about that. That's pretty genius. I didn't even think about eyebrows. It's a really good, that's good artistic thought. It's like you read Basquiat's book on anatomy. And you're like, hey, people have eyebrows. What? In kindergarten, we always used to make sure we put our eyebrows on our drawings. Maybe I'm going to do the outside of my eyeballs. Maybe the inside. Huh? There are two sides to every head, so maybe I'll add some lines over here. So we gave you a lot of black paint, and you don't really need a lot of paint to do this. So if you put the lids on tight enough, your black paint should last you a little bit. But remember, it is also plastic based, so if it's not airtight, it will kind of dry up. So you'd have to like go underneath and kind of dig out the wet stuff. But you should be able to use it for other things. But keep it safe. Like I said, you don't want to get this on your carpet or your clothes or your couch or your dog. I once accidentally got oil paint on my dog, and she had a blue forehead for a very, very long time. Actually, I didn't do it. My friend did it.
My cousin has a dog. My cousin lives with my grandma, and they have a dog, and her name is Velvet, and my cousin likes to dye her hair a lot, and she put it on her dog, and so she has like velvetish ears and a blue tail, and then she swung it all around, so now it's like spots everywhere all over her.
Oh no. Oh dear. All right, so you kind of see how it's just, I don't know, just a fun kind of expressive way to do it. And maybe I don't want to just put black on my face. Maybe I want to add a little smidge of black down here, do my scumbling technique to just kind of blend in some black in the corner. It's up to you. Or see how there were words on my book? You know, I did that book. Maybe I want to go back and maybe make my scribbles for my book lines. Whatever you want to highlight with the black, it's totally up to you. And kind of what you have in the end is a very abstract, that means not real, more thought-based self-portrait of who you are, what you think, what you feel, and the things that you love. I see some beautiful pieces of artwork. So boys and girls, we have gone about 10 minutes over schedule. And oh, these are gorgeous. If you are done, I would like you to hold them up. I see some really gorgeous pieces. Super amazing. Wow. Wow. These are so great. I love them all. I love them all. And remember, if you want me to see these, take a picture of them and have your family email them to me so I can see them, or you could submit them to Reflections. These are so gorgeous. These colors, Lily. Are you Eva, or Eva? Okay, yours is gorgeous, gorgeous. It's okay. I saw your mouth move. I see some really gorgeous pieces. Though the wonks have got some nice colors there, nice and dark.
Miss Griffin, we can also put them on the PTA Facebook page.
Yes, you could have your families take a picture and we could put it on our PTA Facebook page. That's fantastic. We have a PTA Facebook page and we have an art docent page, and these are all things. But in about 1 minute, I'm going to ask you all to hold up your artwork, and I'm going to take a picture with my phone of everyone holding up their artwork. Not even 1 minute. I'm going to give you 20 seconds. So when I count backwards from 20 to 0, I want all of your artwork held up. I'm going to take this really high quality phone picture in 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11. I hope I counted right. 10, 9, 8, 7. Down to the corner. I need to see your art. 7, 6, 5. You don't know if you're in the corner. 4, 3, 2, 1. Everyone put up your art and say cheese. Now say something really hard. Say Basquiat. Not that I can hear you because you're all muted. All right. I got the picture. It was beautiful. It was fun. And I hope that you consider submitting to Reflections. That's due November 20th. So you have 2 weeks now. I've extended it.
But do we have to do the reflections?
You do not have to do Reflections.
Okay.
But if you want me to throw ice cream at you, then maybe you do. I really wouldn't throw ice cream at you. Maybe I would. I don't know. I'm unpredictable. Anyway, hopefully we'll see you next month. We're going to do this the first Wednesday of every month except for in April because you'll be on spring break. So, but we'll be back and hopefully we'll see you back there. And good art and good job, everybody. Go ahead
Bye,
and
Miss Griffin.
goodbye. Go ahead and log out.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. It was amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Miss Griffin. Bye.
Bye. Y'all did
Riley
beautiful.
says bye.
Bye. We're almost there.
Bye.
We almost most of you are gone. Most of you are yeah, well, bye. Claire's gone. Cool.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm staying.
What? It's so nice to see your face. Are those glasses? They're amazing.
They're blue blockers, whatever.
Do you want to see my blue light blockers?
Yeah.
Boom. We're like.
They're not real.
Thank you.
All right. Goodbye. I'm gonna.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thanks
Oh,
for
thanks
taking
for
the
that.
time out of your day.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. And Layla, you're amazing, and I'm kicking you off. Goodbye, my friend.
It won't let me leave the meeting.
I'll help you. Bye.